Hello, and welcome to Backstage Buzz, where today you'll get the inside story on Buffalo Theatre Ensemble's production of The Outsider by Paul Slade-Smith. Today, I'm here with director Kurt Naebig to tell us about this outstanding production running through October 6th. Welcome, Kurt.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I saw the opening night. I had no idea what to expect. I knew it wasn't the musical that's on Broadway, Outsiders, which I guess we just were talking about. Some people are confused with. This is a play.
Yes.
It's a comedy.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
And it's about politics.
Yeah.
But it's really not political. I don't know. It's not about red or blue or. It's so priceless. I love the comedy and the brilliance of it, because it's really making fun of really the voters and what we are attracted to.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I tell people it's a laugh out loud, nonpartisan comedy about a bunch of warm-hearted, zany people who are trying to fix a situation that they're in.
Yeah, that's a perfect description. That's why you're the director, right?
Well, yeah.
But you know, the characters, I think that was my favorite part of the show, is often you go see a show like that and it reminds me very West Wing, where a lot of fast talking and a lot of jargon. This is very sincere, and the characters are all really genuine. You know, like there's characters that when they walked in, especially the twist, there's a twist that you're not expecting. We all heard the premise is a man gets thrown into running for governor because the governor gets thrown out and the lieutenant governor gets promoted, and he hates talking in public, and go. Here's the story. But there's way more to it.
Yeah, it's got a big heart. It makes you think, but it doesn't, you know, it's not a kind of play that's got a finger pointed at you. You're laughing, and then maybe you have a moment where you're like, oh, that's interesting, and then you're laughing again,
Yes.
and it's just moving along. I think all the characters are just, they're trying to do the right thing and be good people.
But there's a huge twist that nobody talks about in any of the marketing here.
Right.
That there's a whole other character that comes into play.
There's a big surprise in the play, and I don't know, am I supposed to talk about it or am I not?
I don't know, but she's fantastic. And I think that surprise is worth the price of the ticket. And I think that, because I think if we tell people it's about this guy who doesn't talk or can't talk or is shy, people are like, well, I don't know if I want to see that. But there's way more.
Yeah.
There's way more.
Yeah.
And it's also about the political pundits.
Yeah, this guy who's such a bad political candidate, and when they are trying to swear him in at the beginning of the play, they say he stuttered, he stammered, he shook, and they're not sure if he said, "So help me God," at the end of the swearing in. And one character says, I think he only said, "Help me," right? And a political pundit comes in to try to help him look TV ready. And this is probably the most un-TV ready person ever, but he's really good at what he does.
And he's smart.
Yes, smart, together, but wow, if he had to talk to you like I'm talking to you right now, he would probably freeze up and stare directly at the camera.
Yeah, and you know what I think is so interesting, though, that I left? I remember when certain characters would come on, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that person. I know, like, I feel like I've met that person. Like, oh, and that's what comes out in the show, is a lot of times voters are like, oh, I relate to you because I know you.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, it's so true. Like, in a way, we don't need somebody super friendly or super. We need somebody who knows the job.
Yep.
Right? Are they responsible? Are they ethical? Right? And do they understand the numbers? And I'm like, it's so interesting, you know. And I thought it's got great little messages and nuggets, and you know, how do they treat people? All of that.
Along with a lot of comic bits, right? I mean,
really funny.
We have a
really
group of actors in this show that are just about the funniest group I've ever worked with. There was one person who would come in almost every night with some new bit to try and was willing to do anything, including one night she came in and she played a moment where somebody surprised her, and she had an entire glass of water. She threw the whole thing in her own face and then continued to rehearse for another 2.5 hours soaked in order to see if that laugh would work. I mean, it was a blast.
Well, and you know, you can see there's a lot of good energy and chemistry with them, and a lot of new faces.
Yes.
How many new people on this show?
So we've got Joe Buchel, we've got Sarah Mountjoy Pepka, and we've got Zach Kunde. And those are 3 people who've never been here before. We got Hugh Callily, who did a show about 2 years ago for us, and prior to that, he did a show 25 years ago.
Okay, so to me, he was new. Like, I know I've seen him before, but I mean, he's not.
He's newer.
He's newer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of new faces, but they're really well cast, really super fun. What was some of the challenges in doing a comedy like this?
I think, well, sometimes the challenge is, how do you get through a night without laughing so hard you hurt yourself? And the other thing is trying to figure out how to make things work comedically while still telling the story.
Right.
And also how to make things, because sometimes comedy, the difference between a laugh and no laugh can be that somebody says the line and their hand does this. And when their hand does this, it's no longer funny. But the next night, if they just say the line and they don't move their hand, we laugh. And trying to figure that out is sometimes...
Without an audience.
Yes, right? So I'm the audience, and maybe we've got our stage manager and assistant stage managers, so I'm also listening. Are they laughing? Are they not? You know, do I find this funny? Do I not? You know, so comedy at times feels like math, but it's the kind of math that is... Well, for me, joyous.
I know for me, when I directed, comedy to me is the hardest. It's the hardest to do because with a drama, you do the scene and you might hope for the gasp or something here and there, but you don't need it. You don't need an out loud gasp to make the show roll.
Right.
If you don't have the laughs in a comedy,
Everybody knows.
It's like you're just digging yourself. You know, it's painful, and it's the only art form that the audience and the actors are all in on. We know what's supposed to be happening here, that we should be laughing. So if you're not laughing, we all know it. The audience knows it and the actors know it, and it's very uncomfortable. So when you don't hit that stride, it's a problem.
It can be tough.
It can be tough. And also knowing how long can you milk it? How long do you let them laugh? When do you go back in? Where can you all those little nuances take really, really seasoned people, right?
There's a part of the play where the audience is generally laughing so loud. We discussed, do we have the actors hold for all of those laughs or not? And eventually we went, you can hold for a little while, but I think if they don't understand the last 6 words of the end of the act because they're laughing so hard, that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you're going to have to go and see for yourself because it's awesome. Kurt, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us because it's phenomenal, and I think you have a hit on your hands, and I know it's Jeff recommended. So be sure to catch Buffalo Theatre Ensemble's The Outsider, which runs through October 6th. For tickets or more information, visit atthemac.org. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you at The Outsider and next time on Backstage Buzz.